Door, Daniel.
There you go. All right. Looks like we're live here. Perfect. Welcome, Zach.
Thank you. Good to be here. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody.
Hey. How was the weekend? Anything fun with the wife and kids lately?
It was actually a wonderful weekend. It was the first 2 days off I've had in 3 weeks.
There
I've
you
worked
go.
till like 9 o'clock or anywhere between 9 and midnight every night for like 3 weeks in preparation for today. So I got Saturday and Sunday off. We went to the local theme park Lagoon
Nice.
on Sunday. I slept till 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Can you believe that? I slept so
I've done
much.
that
It was
forever. Yeah.
Oh man, it was awesome. So yeah, it was a good weekend. I've got 2 rentals we're remodeling right now, one in Florida, one in Utah, that's been really time consuming on top of everything else. And so it's been crazy busy, but it was a good weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, I was gonna say well deserved on being able to sleep in for a day. I know you've had a lot going on, to say the least. So
Yeah.
We had a great family weekend too, man. I mean, I don't have a chance to sleep in often with the kids. You know how that is. So,
Yeah.
But we ended up going to Forest Park here in St. Louis. They opened up like a new nature playscape and just spent all afternoon there and had a blast. So it was
Good, man.
It was good. But
Good.
Awesome. Well, we'll let people trickle in here, but Zach, love to do this again with you. I know we've been working together for years now, so we have plenty of DealMachine members that can attest to how awesome it is to work with you. I know a ton of your students are on DealMachine, obviously, driving for dollars and using us as a tool to help them with that. But today we will dig into that a little bit around driving for dollars, and you're the top expert out there on that strategy. So we love hearing your thoughts on that. So feel free, and I love having Elise here chime in the comments as well. Welcoming you on, but you have a lot of fans over here, obviously. But yeah, feel free to jump in the chat. Add questions as we go around driving for dollars in general. But really excited today to talk to Zach about, he has got a big announcement going on. So make sure to stay on this live, hear about that, hear about how to win, a big giveaway he's doing. But, very excited to kind of host all of that on here as well. But first, for those of you that don't know, just to give a little more context about yourself, obviously, Zach, you're a window washer turned real estate investor who, really took the leap after owning a past successful business, and then, spent a few years scaling your real estate business all the way up to $1 million plus annually. And now you're really on a mission to teach others how to do that and share that at bigger and bigger scale. So maybe let's talk there more about your journey. And then if you want to get into that exciting news you have today, would love to have you share that with our audience too.
Yeah. So like you said, I was a window washer. I washed a lot of windows. I sold that company, but I actually had to go back and purchase back the window cleaning YouTube channel. So I now own that, and I bought that back because I see it as an opportunity to serve and give back, which is in alignment with my life's purpose and legacy that I've set for myself. But when I was washing windows, I was doing monotonous work, and I started listening to books, and I started listening to podcasts, and it changed everything for me. I mean, everything. I went from making 50 grand a year to making 6 figures a month in just a handful of years. It's crazy.
Wow.
I feel grateful, and I don't say that to brag. I wouldn't say that online. I wouldn't say that now if it wasn't for the reason of, I want to give that to you guys. I want you guys to have the same type of success. Right. So I'm so grateful, just grateful for what's happened in my life and where I'm at, and the big thing that we've got going, right, is the giveaway. And I think that's what everyone wants to know, is like, what's in it for me? What can I get out of this? Why should I listen to Zach? Well, I'm giving away an iMac Air. I'm giving away an iPad Air and an AirPods Pro. And I'm doing that, or the cash equivalent. If you don't like Apple, you don't have to have that. You can have the cash. But it's really easy. All you got to do is go to dfdmastery.com/giveaway. Again, that's DFD, stands for driving for dollars, right? DFDmastery.com/giveaway. And there's that landing page. If you scroll down, there's multiple ways to win, multiple ways to enter to win. It's off a point system. It's all going to be tracked with tech, right? So make sure you go in and jump in and do that now so you don't forget. Yes, the giveaway is going to, people can enter to win for 30 days. But do not wait because you'll forget, I promise. So make sure you go do that. And the reason we're doing that giveaway, the whole purpose is because I'm launching my podcast today. This is a celebration giveaway. This is to create awareness around the podcast that is everything driving for dollars. It's everything that my students have done to have massive amounts of success, and the steps, tricks, strategies, everything that they've done to be able to have the success that they've had. So today when we went live, we've launched it with 4 different episodes, but we're going to be uploading 2 episodes a week. I've got a big file of podcasts to upload. There's some fun podcasts, amazing podcasts to share. And so just a couple of great ones to start with. So
yeah, love it. I threw the link in the chat there as well. So dfdmastery.com/giveaway. Yeah, Zach, I mean, every time I talk to you, always learn something new. Always, love that you're so forthright about sharing your knowledge and giving the playbook and, helping others like you're talking about. I'm sure that'll really translate over to the podcast. Can you talk more about why launch this podcast, especially with, there's so many out there, obviously, like why is this one different? Like why is this must listen? And what drove you to want to share it?
Yeah. Well, what made me so successful in this industry and in wholesaling and just doing wholesaling, not as a coach, not as a podcaster, none of that. What made me successful as a real estate wholesaler, as an investor, is when I first got into this business, they said, send postcards to tax delinquent lists or to the high equity lists. It's these generic lists. And I did a couple deals. But then I was like, man, like I'm spending all this money marketing to properties that are not run down, right? And every deal that I've done, all the properties are ugly. It's like I'm driving down the street and I'm like, what's the address? I'm looking for the address. Oh, it's that one. I didn't even need to see the house number. It's like, it was obvious what house is the ugly duckling, the bad house. And so I was like, okay, well, I need more deals. I that first year when I walked away from window cleaning and went full time, I made like $100,000. It was great. It was way more than I ever made washing windows. But I heard of people making $1 million a year, but they were talking about just dumping a massive amount of money into marketing. I was like, it's going to take me 5 years to be able to save up enough to have that kind of operating expense to dump 20, 30, 40 grand a month in marketing. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't making that much of a surplus to build up that kind of money. So it's like, well, what can I do to produce deals now? Right, with a very low budget, and it was driving for dollars, and it wasn't the cool thing. DealMachine wasn't, you guys were kind of in your beta testing stage at that point. I didn't even know about you guys. There was one other driving app, but it was, and I didn't even know about that one either. So when I first started, I'm writing down addresses and looking up properties, and I wrote down like 70 addresses and I did a deal, and I was like, oh wow, like no, that's some money. An average deal for me now is almost $30,000. So think about that. If I send 70 postcards, it's, what is that? $30, and I make 30 grand, it's pretty easy to scale and grow and become extremely wealthy on those kinds of numbers. I'm like, okay, I need more of that. So then I started recruiting people to drive for me. And I made some massive mistakes. And then DealMachine came out. I met DealMachine, and everything started to change and to alter. And I went from making $100,000 to $500,000 to $1 million. And so the whole point of the podcast is to be interviewing people that are taking advantage of this marketing channel, taking advantage of how to find massive discounted properties. We're going to be deep diving their deals, how they found the deal. Yes, the strategies of driving for dollars, what they did, how they did it, but also what they did to do the deals, how they structured them, how they found buyers, how they were able to make money. If I go to the first episode, let me go to like the first 3 episodes that we've launched, and I can kind of at least talk about those 3 episodes so you guys can get an idea of what you're going to be able to listen to.
Yeah, and as Zach's doing that as well, just a reminder: feel free to throw questions in chat about anything driving for dollars, because we're talking about Zach's podcast today. Obviously, that covers all things driving for dollars, and then we'll do a deep dive to answer your questions as well, and have him give a little bit of his playbook towards the end of this. So feel free to throw your driving for dollars questions in chat here.
Yeah. Awesome. So the first episode, it's only like 2 minutes. It's like an introduction of the podcast, what it is, just me kind of sharing that. The second episode that we've uploaded is with Wyatt Simon. So he's only 26, and he's been able to, in just a couple of years, build a rental portfolio of 36 units. And we break down how he was able to do that, how he structured it. While, he was a college basketball player, and how he got into straight into that and having that kind of success, and what driving for dollars and how he took advantage of it to be able to have that kind of success. Next one was an NFL player. This is Winston. Oh, what's his name again? Winston Wright is his last name. But he was a NFL player for just a year, and heard that story, turned youth pastor. And he was able to double his income in 6 months working full time. So he loves being a youth pastor, but he wanted to be able to provide a little bit better financial situation for his family. So, we deep dived how he was able to do that just part-time, being able to make that kind of money. And then another one, let's see, what's the next episode? Oh, fantastic. This one's Thomas Burnett. So Thomas Burnett actually works full-time selling furniture. I think it's actually a mattress store, and how he was able to just part-time in Portland, Oregon, one of the most competitive markets. They say, you can't do wholesaling in competitive markets like California and Oregon and stuff. But he proved that wrong by just doing postcards and working full-time. He's able to make like $68,000, I think, is how much he's made in just a couple months. But yeah, I mean, I love all these guys, and it's been so fun too, because I've been able to be a part of their journey, at least in a small way, like seeing them, like these young, hungry entrepreneurs, like wanting to be successful, and then seeing them go through that process and those struggles, and asking me questions, and then being able to do these interviews and deep dive exactly what they did. And I can share that, and you guys can listen in and learn. And duplicate their action steps to have the same kinds of results. The whole point of the podcast is for me to give back and to make a bigger impact than I can just one-on-one with students. Yes, I still coach. Yes, I can still coach people, but the whole point is to give content that is action driven, that is, can change your life truly.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing, Zach. Every time I talk to you, and then when you talk about this podcast, like, that's the thing that always strikes me, is that, obviously the podcast is a bigger platform for helping others. Like, you have that passion in you to help others on all, many different forms, coaching, the podcast, everything you're doing. Can you talk about that maybe a little bit more, and why you're so passionate about giving back like that and helping others?
Yeah, well, I live by Christian values, first of all. So, I was raised that way, and I served a Christian mission in Sao Paulo, Brazil, when I was a young kid. So I lived down there for a couple of years, and not only did I have to teach religion, which is probably the hardest thing in the world to teach, but I had to do it in a whole nother language. All right. So I had to become fluent in Portuguese. I got fluent in Portuguese in a couple months. It was that or starve to death or whatever, So anyways, I had that experience, and I fell in love with serving and giving back. I fell in love with helping others. And I remember after my time doing that was up, I came home and I didn't really have anything lined up. And I had a couple weeks off. So my family had lined up a cabin for us to go fishing and stuff. And I felt so guilty that I was up there having fun, because I had spent 2 years just serving other people. And so I fell in love with the fulfillment that comes from serving and to helping other people. And, and then I had a family, and I needed to provide money, and that was important to me. And so I started building these businesses, and they were all focused about making money. Like, the whole reason I got into window cleaning is I needed a paycheck. I didn't love window cleaning. I wanted to be in real estate. I wanted to. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 14, but I got into window cleaning because I can make money. And so when I found out about, it took me a while, right? It took me a while to figure out about wholesaling. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know you could get into real estate with very little money. And so when I finally found out about it, it was through a podcast. Someone else had given back and helped me. I found out about it from Wholesaling Inc. and I found out about it from Cody Hoffine and Tom Kroll, and they changed my life. And, that first year, like I said, I did 100,000 in wholesaling. And then the next year I did just shy of $500,000. And at that point, I read a self-help journal that's called Living Your Best Year Ever. And it talked about the importance of whatever you want to receive, you have to give away. It's like, okay, well, I want to make $1 million next year in my wholesaling business. So I have to give away $1 million. And that goes in alignment with my core values, right? As a person, that you have to give to receive. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to teach other people my marketing system. I really don't have $1 million to give away. Probably would have been a lot easier just to give away the $1 million, honestly, than putting $1 million, coaching other people to put $1 million in their business. But I did it. I changed people's lives, and I changed their financial lives at least. And it was very, very fulfilling. And, teaching them really helped me grow as well. It helped me catch a bunch of holes and mistakes in my own business. It's what made my wholesaling business so amazing. Since I was spending so much time with my students, it really forced me to make systems and automate processes and put people in place to build an automated wholesaling business. I'm at 700,000 so far for the year in 5 months. And I didn't do any of it. I didn't do any of the marketing. I didn't do any of the cold calling. I didn't do any of the driving. I didn't do any of the appointments, right? Because I have people in place. And so coaching really blessed me and blessed my wholesaling business. But what was most important is I got the helper's high, right? I started doing something that I felt like was more important than the money. I felt like I was finally in an industry that could make money and change people's lives. And I also make all this content. I'm doing YouTube. We're going to be doing 4 episodes a week on my YouTube channel, 2 on the podcast. And I got Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all that other stuff too that I'm doing. I mean, I spend just crazy amounts of hours in content creation and research and everything else, because one day I'll die, right? And one day the only thing that will be left of me is what I did and whose lives I blessed. And my thought is like, this content that I leave behind will never die, will never go away. So this book right here, I have it on my desk always, is if you're just listening, it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I actually listened to this book when I was washing windows, and I've since read it 2 or 3 times. But I listened to this book, and one of the tips he gives, one of the first tips he gives, is the importance of starting with the end in mind. And he says, when you're at your funeral, if you were a fly on the wall, what would you want to, what eulogies would be said? Like, what would people say about you? And if you live your life with the goal of what people will say about you when you die, you're going to live a fulfilling life. And to me, I want to live a life that people will say he gave back, he served, he changed people's lives. He gave 100% every single day that he lived. And I'm doing that. I've been doing that for quite a few years now. And, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional because I put my heart and soul into every piece of content that I put out, into everything that I do, because I truly want this to be my legacy. I want my children to be able to watch this content, watch the YouTube channels, and be able to grow and succeed just as much as anyone else watching the content. So this is the same content I tell my children. This is the same stuff I'd want my children to watch, and to listen to and to grow. And so it's not just, tips, tricks, and strategies, but it's mindset. It's everything that you need to be successful. Because I don't want people just to have money, because money alone, you're going to be empty. But I want you to have your cake and eat it too. And so, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm putting out so much content. It's why I'm working so hard. A lot of people and I know that this is true for a lot of people. They see gurus or they see people putting out content and they think, oh, they do that because they can't be successful in real estate. And sometimes that's true, but in this case, it's not the scenario. I make the majority of my money from real estate, and that's where I'm holding my wealth. That's what I do. But I create this content because I want it to be what's left behind.
Yeah. And every time I talk to you, Zach, I come away inspired. So thank you for sharing all, getting that personal with us. But I was laughing in the comments here. We had somebody who jumped in and said they were a missionary that served 2 years and also did, they were in Mexico and Texas for that. And then they also did window cleaning. So you have a few people in here that can relate on a couple levels. But
Dominic, he just posted. I put this on my stories like 2 days ago. He just did his first deal. He's been a student for a while. He's in Portland as well, actually. He was a window cleaner, and he just did his first deal. I think it was like $20-something thousand, $23,000, and he's super hyped and excited. Yeah. So there's a lot of guys and gals that have done window cleaning and see this and go like, "Man, I could do it."
It's funny. So there you go. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for everybody jumping in chat, saying hi. Feel free to throw any questions you have in chat about driving for dollars specifically. Before we jump into that too, Zach, do you mind reiterating for people about your podcasting giveaway for anyone who didn't hear it, 20 minutes ago?
Yep. So I am giving away an iMac Air, iPad Air, and AirPods Pro, or the cash equivalent. And you can do that by going to dfdmastery.com. Drivingfordollarsmastery.com is what it stands for. So dfdmastery.com. and /giveaway. Okay. There's a link. You dropped it. Thank you.
There you go.
So you go there and there's multiple ways to win. It's off a point system. So if you just scroll down, it gives all the things that you can do to enter to win. It's some of them are as easy as like clicking on the link to go see my YouTube channel, clicking on the link to go see me on Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, you can, but I make it super easy because I don't necessarily want you to follow me unless you want to follow me, unless you can grow and succeed from the content I put out. So, so that's the giveaway. I'm doing it in celebration to the launch of my podcast called Driving for Dollars Mastery. It's everything driving for dollars. And the tips, tricks, strategies, and deep diving deals and those kinds of things. So you guys can go duplicate the results. So you guys can have life-changing financial success as well. So
perfect. Yeah. And Zach, kind of going into that driving for dollars, questionnaire that again, feel free to jump in and throw questions in the chat about it. But to start off, obviously you've coached hundreds of students to driving for dollar success. And, it's a method that you talked about, like you personally land your deals using this. Can you maybe talk more about why it's such a valuable strategy, and especially in a crazy market like right now, why you teach driving for dollars over anything else?
Yeah, I teach it for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons. There's about 7 or 8 that I frequently talk about. I'll just say one, and if you want more, we can just keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
So
no, this is great.
One of the things that I love about it is you control it. So I believe that any company will only succeed if you have a way to attract clients. If you have a way to attract money, right? Because the whole process of growing a business, if you don't have a lead, you can't close it. If you can't close it, you can't produce money. You can't then hire anyone else, right? You can't have bookkeepers, and there's no point for an LLC. There's no point for any of it. There's no point for an office space, all the things that people associate with a business. You got to have leads. So really, our business is marketing and our product is something else. So everyone's like, oh, I'm in the business of real estate. I'm in the business of wholesaling. No, you're not. You're in the business of marketing, and your product is wholesaling. Your product is real estate. Your product is a Driving for Dollars app, right? My product is something else. And so when you have a business that, let's say you're marketing to a list you're buying from PropStream or listsource.com, a couple different sources where you can buy marketing lists, and you're doing this marketing, and all of a sudden you're making $200,000-$300,000 a year. Well, then what happens if law changes in that state and it's no longer public records? That happened in the Carolinas to one of my students, right? Their business is going to go from 300,000 to zero overnight because their marketing was shut down. Boom, overnight, gone. Driving for dollars, that will never happen to you. You own the list. Even if DealMachine goes away, even if, all apps go away, even if they don't allow, like they outlaw driving for dollars apps. Let's say that happens, right? Well, you can still go look around and drive around. No one will ever stop you from driving around and finding ugly houses and creating that list. No one can take that list from you. It is your list, right? So first of all, you control your business because you control your marketing, right? It's go ahead.
No, I would say just a note to add there as well. Like within DealMachine, you have kind of two options there. You have the driving for dollars option, and then we do have a list builder option as well, where you can pull a list. And we actually recommend, like you said, the two together, where it's, hey, don't just rely on, on some other source to get your data to pull that list. Like use that, and then you can drive that list, and you can drive around that, and you can use the power of them together as well. So check out the list builder pieces in addition to driving for dollars. Is kind of like a next level strategy within DealMachine. But anyway, go ahead, Zach.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. Do you want more?
Yeah. You're the expert here. I just want to give you the floor for sharing your knowledge.
Okay. Yeah. Just stop me if there's some great questions coming in. Guys, gals, if you want to ask me a question, feel free to. I want to serve you today. So, the next reason is you can scale it. So let me give you an example. If you're marketing to, any marketing list, right? Let's say like a tax delinquent list. Let's say tax delinquent's a very profitable list. You spend 10 cents to make $1. You're making 10 times on your money. Great. Fantastic. Well, the problem is there's only so many tax delinquents in your market. Let's say you market to all of them the best you can, and your average is you're doing a deal a month. Well, what if you want to do a deal a week? How do you go from a deal a month to a deal a week if your marketing list is just the size that it is? It is what it is. You then either have to open a whole new market and pull the tax delinquent list there, and then hire a team around it, right? And build a cash buyers list around it and everything else that goes with opening a market. Or you have to pull a different list and hope that that different list is just as profitable as the tax delinquent list. So you can't just decide to grow the list. Driving for dollars, you can, right? You can just go, hey, I want to add more properties, so I'm going to grow my list. So you can scale, you can start small and just grow your list by adding more properties each week. So when I first started, I was adding like 100 properties a week. I'm up to adding, between my two markets, I'm up to adding 4,000 properties a week now, right? And so can it be done to that scale? Yeah, 100%. But you don't have to start that size. You don't have to start crazy large, right? But I totally expect to do. We just scaled up our marketing again. I believe that's a $3 million a year business to be adding 4,000 properties a week. How cool is that, right? And you might be thinking, wow, this goes into the next thing, right? The next thing that I love about driving for dollars, you might think, how big is Zach's team to add 4,000 addresses a week? How big of a business do you have to have? Well, not very big at all. I have 1.5 drivers, right? So I have Miguel, who drives all of Utah for us. He drives about 2.5 hours a week to get 2,000 properties. We just flew him down to Florida for the week, actually, to drive for us. And he just added almost 12,000 addresses in a week. 12,000 in a week.
Wow.
Crazy.
How many hours a day is he driving typically?
He said one day he drove 11 hours. Just one of the days. He drove 80 miles and he added like 3,000 properties in one day. It was crazy.
That's crazy. Just a machine.
Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah, don't do that. It's hard on your health. Like the guy is a beast. So if you have a Miguel, you need one person to build a multi-million-dollar business, right? The guy is absolutely insane. And then my acquisition manager in Florida is just driving about 5 hours a week is all to add 500 properties a week. So you can definitely add anywhere between, depending on how aggressive you are on your criteria, you can be adding anywhere between 300 and 250 properties an hour, right? With the technologies that DealMachine provides. So you can build a business and scale a business off a very small team, right? You don't have to have a massive amount of people. When I first started, and most of my students, when they start, they only have 15 hours a week. That's all you need, right? Couple hours a week driving around, couple hours a week sending postcards, couple hours a week servicing leads. That's all you need to do to be able to get started in this.
Yeah. Touching on that, Zach, I like you said, you can scale it up to that quantity of leads, but can you maybe walk people through that playbook for getting started? Because I'm sure plenty of people on here are just getting started themselves, or they're considering jumping into it. So if you can kind of talk through that playbook, and then even the mindset around that, because I know earlier you mentioned mindset is everything on this. So maybe coach people through that to begin with.
Yeah. So most people, they want to conquer the world, right? But they don't know where to start. So thank you so much, Matt, for like asking me to like break it down, how I was able to go from broke window cleaner to scaling this out, right? So first you need to start with, okay, what's your marketing budget? What can you afford to spend? So let's say, you know, I'll start with my minimum requirement. If I coach anyone, you have to spend at least $500 a month in marketing. Okay. So let's just say you have $500 a month. Well, that means you have about $125 a week to spend on marketing. So what you then need to do is you need to calculate, okay, what's 1/4 or 1/4 of DealMachine's monthly expense, right, for their cheapest package or for their lowest cost package, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because there's nothing DealMachine puts out is cheap, I promise you that. It's fantastic. so you have their lowest price product, okay, which is, what is that again right now, Matt?
If you do annual, it's $49 a month. If you do month to month, it's $59 a month.
Okay. So let's say you can't afford the whole year. Let's say you're doing the $60 a month. So that means per week you're going to be $20 in expenses, right? And let's say you're going to send postcards. Postcards are about 50 cents a postcard. So if you're going to spend $125, you now have $100 to spend on postcards per week. That means you can send about 200 postcards a week. So that means you need to add 200 properties a week. That needs to be your goal. You go out and find 200 properties in a week. It'll take you a couple hours and you send postcards. And then you're going to have to sit on that, right? You can do other proactive things like knock doors, which we do. We knock doors on the really bad ones and the neighbors. And Justice Soto's podcast interview is going to be coming out. I've done this one, but he made almost 100 grand. I can't remember the exact numbers. I shouldn't even say a number. He made a lot. Okay. He made a lot being super broke. He went from being a professional gamer. Okay. Professional gamer, playing, I think it was Fortnite actually, to doing real estate wholesaling. And he was able to do it from door knocking, driving for dollars, door knocking. Okay. So yeah, friggin' love it. So these are the kinds of stuff I'm sharing, what they did and how they did it on this podcast. It's friggin' awesome. I love it. So anyways, he's going to be sharing that, but you can do other things. You can door knock, you can cold call, you can text this list. But if you just send postcards, which a lot of my students do, that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to break it down, right? Reverse engineer. Okay, this is how much I can spend. According to all my expenses, this is where I'm at. Then you have all the other stuff, right? That's around the deals. Maybe you already know how to wholesale. You have your cash buyers list. You have everything in place. You already know how to do all this stuff. Great. Run with it. Right. But yeah, that's how I would start. I would break it down very simple. And that's what I teach my students and how I break it down in the beginning of my course, right? Like break it down very simple. This is how we're going to break out our marketing and just start small. And you might think, oh, that's not going to get us any results. Well, it might take a month or two, but it will get you results. You just got to stay consistent. That's the problem. People are like, oh man, I want to get rich. And it's like 1 weekend, I give up. I'm going to go get a job. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, if you really want this.
Yeah, go. Yeah. If you go for 1 week, it's not, you're setting a foundation, but you have to create a great habit and do that. Continue to form that over time, right?
100%.
Yeah,
and the funny thing is, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I love Rob's comment here, talking, saying that he reached out to you. You gave him great advice, and he just started with DealMachine as well, and is loving it too. So, Rob, welcome to the DealMachine family. There, appreciate the shout out. So,
yeah, welcome, Rob. That's awesome. Yeah, Rob. The funny thing is Rob, thank you so much for appreciating the message. I get so many messages. I don't even remember whoever I've talked to or what I messaged. I don't remember sending that message. But if you send me a message, I'll respond. And I usually just do a quick voice note and just give you some tips and value. So if you guys want to reach out to me, feel free to. I'm all about serving and helping. Yes, I do coach. And if you want to know more about the coaching, you can actually get on a call with me. So you just go to dfdmastery.com / DealMachine is what we have set up.
I believe so. We have the if they go to the giveaway right here, they'll find us as well on that site. So
yeah.
But anyway,
for sure. Yeah. So you guys can talk to me that way as well, or just through social media, but I want to help you. I definitely want to help you. So that's awesome. Thanks for giving the shout out, Rob.
Yeah. And he did have one follow-up question here talking about, when you actually, obviously you build the list by driving for dollars, but then when you take that next step and market property owners. Can you break down like cold calling versus postcards and
Yeah.
what you recommend?
I'd be happy to. Should I share like actual data with you guys? I'm sure
Sure,
everyone's
do
like,
it.
ooh, all right, let me open up my KPIs. Okay. Just give me a few seconds and I'm going to go into.
And as he's doing that, again, reminder: feel free to throw Q&A in the chat here, and Zach's here to help. And anything driving for dollars related, he is the man. So let's feel free to ask specifics.
Yeah, so many people tell me this all the time that like postcards are dead, right? And that is totally, totally not true. We actually make more money off postcards than anything, and we're in the most competitive market in the country. So, I was talking to a digital marketing company that we're looking to hire, and they're actually tapped out in Utah. I can't even hire them for Utah, but I'm going to hire them for Tampa. And they do ads all across the country for wholesalers like myself. They're very well known, very expensive to get started with. And so I was talking to him. He's like, dude, Utah is a beast. He's like, that is the hardest market to get deals in any market across the country. And so with that being said, right, one of the reasons I'm so successful is I found a marketing channel, Driving for Dollars, that's really given me an edge on a very competitive, difficult market. And if it works here in Utah, it works anywhere. I can promise you that. So here we go. Let me go to the first 5 months of the year. Running totals. And this is just off of Driving for Dollars. Okay. This doesn't count radio, online ads, referrals, none of that. Okay. This is just Driving for Dollars, just in my market here in Utah. So we sent out 44,534 text messages. Okay. And we got 3 deals and we made 112 grand. So those are some big deals. What's the math on that? That's almost 40 grand a deal. Yeah. So big deals. Cold calling, we dialed for only 256 hours so far in 5 months. We got 3 contracts and we made 55 grand. So the average deal size was just small. We had a couple $5,000 deals is what happened, and then 1 big deal. And it was just bad luck. I think there were some lien issues and so forth. So we had the same amount of deals from cold calling. Our marketing expense was about the exact same for that. Our let's see, our postcards. These numbers are really cool. Check this out. I sent out 48,000 postcards, 48,023 postcards to be exact. That cost me $16,327. The funny thing is I only had 130 responses. That equals out to a 0.02%. Less than 0.5% response rate. Most people say you got to have a 1 to 2% response rate to get anybody to do deals on postcards. BS. It's off of conversion, not off a response rate, right? So we got 5 contracts from that. We made $170,000 off those 5 contracts. So grand total was roughly just off of the Driving for Dollars, cold calling, texting, and postcarding just here in Utah. What does that add up to? So minus, well, I've done 456,000 here in Utah total. So minus whatever those numbers were I gave you, minus the 170,500, minus the 112, minus the 55. So you guys can rewind this and push pause and calculate, do the math. There you go. Those are actual factual numbers.
Yeah. Here's one follow-up when it comes to those postcards. There, Paula was asking, how do you mix in the call with the postcard, and then, do you have any like on cadence of postcards? How do you kind of advise your marketing cadence on all of that?
If you're just starting, pick one. If you're more advanced, I do have that available to my students and I break down how we do it. And I'm not sharing it here because I don't want to share it. Like if you are an experienced wholesaler and you are making money, you should be in my program anyways. But if you're just starting, I'm going to tell you what you should do. You should pick one. I had made almost $500,000 off of postcards before I ever did anything else. Right? Just do one. Whatever one you prefer. If you like being on the phone, you like being proactive and you're not sitting around bored waiting for calls, then do cold calling or do texting. If you have like a day job and you're super busy and you want us to go to a voicemail and you want to be able to send it or have a VA do it, and like you're super swamped and you only can go on appointments or text during the day, do postcards, right? That's what a lot of my students do that have full-time gigs, is postcards. That's it. So pick one, just pick one, and then you can scale from there. But we do all three, right? And there's a sequence and stuff to keep yourself very profitable. There were some big mistakes I made there, huge mistakes. I wasn't for example, when I started implementing all of them at the same time, I wasn't profitable on postcards for about 6 months because I was doing it wrong. Right? We had to make some tweaks and everything to make it profitable.
What were some of the biggest changes during that you made? Like what did you change to make your postcards much more successful?
Yeah, great question. So when I was doing postcards, I was postcarding everyone. I was sending 3 rounds, and it got to the point where I started adding texting and cold calling in there. And then I was still sending postcards in the same way. But the problem was I was then cherry picking deals. For example, people would respond to a text or cold call before they'd respond to postcards. And so I was still sending postcards. So I had to come up with a system that whoever said no, not interested, or that, became leads, didn't get postcards. And I was just throwing money away. As soon as I switched that back over, I went back to where I was making 10 times my money. The other thing is postcards are a long game. So I had a student, Scott Dallinger in Portland, fantastic. He's built out a wholesaling business. When I first met him a couple of years and started teaching him, he'd just done like one deal. Now he has 2 acquisition managers. He's crushing it. He's also in Portland. But he did postcards for a while and kind of gave up on them. And then he had like 3 or 4 deals come in over the next 6 months that were huge. And he was looking at his profit margins. He's like, dude, this is my most profitable marketing situation. Like, what am I doing? So sometimes people keep the postcards. The things with postcards is when someone has a postcard and they call it, those are your hottest leads. Because if you get a lead from cold calling and texting, like, yeah, I might be interested, but blah, 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 like I might need to deal with something, right? They've already gone through that hemming and hawing stage. They want to sell it if they're picking up the phone and calling a postcard, right? So the leads that come in, they're ready to go. So many times people will keep the postcard 3, 4, 5, 6 months, then call it. So be patient, stay consistent.
Yep. Great tip. And then I think what you highlighted there as well around, hey, if you have multiple things going on with that particular lead and they say no to one marketing channel, making sure that you don't have inefficiencies where it falls off and they said no, but we're still sending postcards to them. Like every single one of those inefficiencies is costing you money on the marketing side. So we really try to keep that whenever we're designing DealMachine. We want to make that, keep that in mind. So that way you're using the most efficient use of your budget between, postcards or calling or whatever your marketing outreach is. Right. One follow-up from Francisco here was your postcards, you use Street View, or like what does your postcard design look like?
Yeah. So I tested Street View and I tested just a handwritten postcard, kind of working with DealMachine on the back end, little sneak peek here, but I'm trying to work to get DealMachine to share my postcard with everybody. So we're working on that right now as we speak, but I have found, I split tested Street View and I street tested handwritten postcards and I tested, what was the other one? The different colors, and then the handwritten font print. And I've tested all the different postcards. Certain postcards like the Street View, you get a higher response rate. Remember I said on my numbers I just gave you, I got a 0.02% response rate. I got like a 1% response rate, but it was just more go dies. It was more go pound sends, like how dare you send me a postcard? You're a weirdo sending me a picture of my house. I just got more of that, but my conversions never changed. The thing is when someone's super motivated to sell their house and they get a postcard, they're either going to call it or they're not going to call it. Right? Like it honestly didn't affect our total margin, our net in our pocket. It actually hurt us because usually you spend more for those fancier postcards, but it doesn't necessarily equal more conversions. So if you're curious though, you can split test it. And the way you split test and the way I split tested it is I get 2 different phone numbers, tracking phone numbers to put on each postcard. So then I can track all the calls that come in off this postcard and all the calls. So what you do, let's say you go build a list of 1,000 properties a week. You take 500 of them and you send postcards with this postcard, 500 with the other postcard, right? So they're completely, no variations at all other than just the postcard. But don't be
Yeah.
like sending handwritten to this letter, this list, and then this list gets, you got to have the same list and then split test it.
Yep. Yeah, I think split testing or A/B testing, anything like that, is the the way to go. I mean, obviously you guys have had so much data that you can share with people on here. Here's what's working for us, but again, highly recommend anybody who's trying to scale on their own to experiment, to see if that experiment worked, and then iterate accordingly. So.
Exactly. Yeah, because every market will be different, just like Matt said. And so, like, I have seen certain markets where you will do better. There's certain markets where, for example, Utah, where highly inflated house prices, like there is no supply. I mean, rentals, houses, our values of our houses has just gone bonkers. It's nuts. But in markets in the Midwest and stuff where your house prices are a lot lower, it may make actually a huge difference to have a street view. But I can at least tell you from my numbers and what I've tracked, that's why we don't do the street view, because it didn't make me any more money, right? We're in the business of being profitable. So,
yep. Yeah, looking at it, I know we're getting close to time here, but I was curious for a little bit more on the advanced investor side. Is there anything that really separates your top students from the rest, or really separates the investors you see out there that are great at what they're doing from the rest? It's such a competitive space.
Yeah, you got to stay consistent, period. Because there is a learning curve. Right? Like there's a learning curve to get there. This is for new, and then I'll go into the advanced. You have to stay consistent to do those first couple deals. And then the next part of it is you need to stay consistent. Because I know once you start doing deals, you get busy, right? Most of the time when people are like, okay, I've done a deal and they got like 2 deals in escrow, meaning they're dealing with the title work and paperwork and cash buyers, they get bogged down and marketing gets put on hold, right? For a week or two. And then they get back at it. And then they go on hold, and then they get back at it, and then it goes on hold, and they go back on it, and all of a sudden they're doing this, right? And they got $100,000 in the bank account, and they start spending all their money on marketing, and they get down to like 20 grand. They're like, oh shit, I'm gonna die, and then they start making all this money again, right? And it's just this constant roller coaster because their marketing's not consistent. Remember what I said. Our business is marketing, right? Real estate investing is marketing. Our product is real estate. Right. So remember that if your marketing stops, your business stops. It's going to stop. And it's usually 2-3 months out. So usually from the first efforts of your marketing, it usually takes 3 months for the money to really start being generated. 2 to 4 months is most of your money is going to come in. So think about that. If you have 2-3 weeks off, 3-4 months down the road, or 3 months down the road, you're going to have a dip in your business. You'll be like, what's going on? I have no leads. I have no money. And you don't think about that because 3 months ago, you forgot about that already. That's the problem that most people have. So the first thing you need to do, as soon as you do a deal, you need to become obsessed with finding the right people to help you grow your business. If you really want to scale the business, you need to find someone that can help you sustain and maintain your marketing budget and slowly scale that. And like I said, continually adding more addresses, adding more postcards, adding cold calling, then adding texting, then adding to what you're doing in a systematic, efficient way that nothing falls off. The worst thing you can do is to scale too fast, to have too many leads and shut your marketing off. Scale slower.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. I know we're, again, running up against time here. Again, if anybody has any last minute questions here, feel free to throw that in the chat and we'll try to have Zach answer as many as we can around driving for dollars. But Zach, can you kind of just to wrap things up here, reiterate the podcast, the giveaway, and maybe even talk about, I loved your wholesaling challenge, like the 40K in 40 days. Maybe just do a recap of that too, just because I think that would be an awesome follow-up for people to look at on YouTube specifically.
Cool. Yeah. So the giveaway is an iMac Air, iPad Air, and AirPods Pro, or the cash equivalent. You go to dfdmastery.com, stands for driving for dollars, dfdmastery.com/giveaway. It's right there. Thanks, Matt. And you just scroll down and there's multiple ways to enter to win. It goes off a point system. The more things you do, the more points you have to win. Make sure you go do that so you don't forget. And one of the things is you can click on and check out my YouTube channel. That's one of the ways, right? All you got to do is click on it and go look at it. But I highly suggest you subscribe and follow me on all the social media platforms, including and very much so YouTube. We're going to be we've been producing 2 to 3 episodes a week. We're going to bump that up to 4. And I did a challenge on that YouTube channel We uploaded the last episode of that about a week or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's the 40 grand and 40-day challenge. And the whole point was to show you how to get started with just $1,000, right? So let's say you have no experience in real estate. You've never done real estate where you're at. You only have $1,000. You need to watch that, right? You have to watch that. Like it's, the whole goal was to make 40 grand in 40 days with just $1,000 in a whole new market where I had no roots, right? I didn't know anybody. I didn't have the resources. I left my team. It was all me, all on my own from scratch. It was hard. It was very difficult, but I don't want to be a spoiler, but we blew the goal out of the water, right? It was super fun and we did it much faster than the 40 days. So definitely go check that out. It was really fun to put that together. It was a ton of work. I didn't see my family for an entire month to be able to produce that content for you guys. It was a massive sacrifice on my part to produce that content. It's very valuable information. So glad I did it. So make sure you guys check that out.
Yeah, it's really inspiring, very, very powerful stuff. So I highly recommend those videos. But one last question in here from Mondi, asking about how you determine equity, and then how do you handle that, on a cold call?
So I have a video on the YouTube channel where I actually do cold calling, and the 40-day challenge, I'm doing cold calling. So you see exactly what I'm saying. The whole goal is not to find people with equity. The whole goal is to find people that want speed and convenience, right? My mentor taught me that we're a pawn shop for houses. Right. So anyone that sells something to a pawn shop, right, they just want convenience. They know they could sell it for more on like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something. They don't want to deal with the hassle. They want it gone now. Right. So the same thing with houses. Most people know and understand they can list it with an agent and make way more. And that's what you're doing. You're trying to find people and you say that exact thing. You could probably make more if you just list it with an agent. I mean, I could buy it as is. I mean, are you trying to squeeze out as much as possible, or do you want this thing done fast? Right. And if they say, oh, I'm not really in a hurry, I don't want, it's like, okay, well, best of luck. See ya next. Right. So you're trying to find those people. Once you find those people, then you need to put together a deal, structure a deal that makes sense. They get to walk away with what they want, where you still make a profit. Right. That's how it works.
Yep. And I know our most successful DealMachine members, equity, obviously there's opens up maybe more creative financing and things like that, if it's high equity, but there wasn't necessarily any correlation of people doing a lot of deals to high equity. It was like really the number one thing was, these are owner occupied properties, which means they didn't just pull some list. They didn't do that. They actually went out and verified with their eyes, physically distressed properties, them or a driver, and built their own list like that. So I know from our data, from our most successful members, that's where success is coming from.
Yeah, that's one thing you'll find is you're going to do way more deals on owner occupied deals with the Driving for Dollars list than any other list. It's one of the reasons you're so successful. You're competing with people that are only doing absentee owner lists, and so so that's a huge thing. And just like Matt said, there are ways to do deals with people regardless of their equity situation, regardless of how long they own the property. I just bought a property in Tampa, for example, full value. It's worth $150,000 fixed up and sold, and it was in pretty bad shape. I bought it for $140,000. The reason I did that is because I took over the dude's mortgage, right? And I paid the same amount that he owes on it. I gave him like $1,000 or a couple $1,000 to walk away, somewhere around there. It was close to that. I don't know the exact numbers, but I have them written down. I don't have them in the top of my head, I should say. So, but it rents for like $1,000. Probably going to rent somewhere around $1,300, and my monthly payment's like $800. So I basically get a free house. Think about it. I get a free house. Like I make money every month off the property, and the tenant's going to pay off the mortgage for me, and it'll be my house completely paid off in like 28 years, 27 years is what's left on the loan. So it's going to build wealth, and that property is going to go up in value with time. And then I get tax advantages because I hold property. You know how the wealthy don't pay any taxes at all because they take advantage of real estate, because in real estate, you can show that you're losing money on the house, even though you're not, right? So on paper, you're losing money. In reality, you're gaining equity. You're paying off debt. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you can do. Equity doesn't really matter.
Yep. Awesome. Well, here's one more from Andrew. Let's see. How do you find pre-foreclosures, owners in financial trouble? Do you have any specific recommendations on that? Or
honestly, I hate doing deals with people in financial trouble. like they're the biggest pain in the butt. People that are super behind on their mortgage, haven't paid their taxes, in a tight spot financially, they're broke. They need every penny they can get. I usually suggest just listing it, right? They need every penny. Usually the people we do deals with, they want the convenience factor.
Creating convenience. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you'll see on day 4 of the challenge, of the 40 grand and 40-day challenge, I meet Jerry, very wealthy investor. He did tons of deals, but he had 3 properties he didn't want to deal with. So he gave them to me. I told him on the phone, I was like, brother, you might be able to get more if you just listed them. And you can listen to that call on day 4. He says, I don't care. I want to be done. I'm like, okay, great. I'll come meet you. Right. And I made a ridiculous amount of money on those properties, well over 6 figures on those 3 properties. Right. I kept 2 of them as rentals and wholesaled 1 for 10. So the thing is, you can make a lot of money working with people that aren't in hardship. Most people hear about wholesaling and think, oh, we're just working and taking advantage of people in a hard spot. That's not true at all. We're working with people that want speed and convenience. Honestly, like very, very few deals we do, they're in pre-foreclosure. Very few. So I've marketed to the pre-foreclosure list for years because it's a small list here in Utah. And I mean, I honestly can market to it for years and do 1 deal and it'll still be profitable. So I've been marketing to it. I've never done a deal off of it. Never. It's bonkers to me. Maybe if I went and door knocked and did all that stuff, maybe I could do a deal, but it's never been a profitable list for me so far, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, for DealMachine members, I know it's that physical sign of distress is the number 1 factor. So
yeah, 100%.
Great. Well, Zack, again, I'll wrap things up here. Thank you so much for coming on. Really excited about your podcast, about, your YouTube channel. Again, go to dftmastery.com/giveaway to figure out, how to subscribe to the podcast. And while you're doing that, hopefully win, all kinds of different Apple products you've got giving away there. So, Zack, again, thank you so much for being on today. And, would love to do this again in the future.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks
everybody. Yeah. Happy deal finding.